Jai Guruji, welcome to the second day of narration of the book Surcharged with Divine Love, written by Sukhmani Auntie and published by Unistar Books Private Limited. I hope you truly enjoyed the first two chapters of this book. Now, with Guruji's blessings and Sukhmani Auntie's permission, let's begin reading Chapter 3. Chapter 3. Guruji's Early Years. Guruji was born into a humble family on the 7th of July 1954 in Dugri village, district of Malerkotla. This family had always been blessed by the birth of saints and fakirs through generations, but according to Mataji, Guruji's mother, she had no idea that a Mahapurush of such a high level would be born to her. According to the midwife, the day Guruji was born, she saw a snake and a strange kind of a bright light fill up the room. When the Pandit, priest, prepared the birth chart, he clearly told Mataji that this child is not just hers but belongs to the entire world. Even as a little baby, there was a fragrance in his urine and he never soiled his clothes. As a young boy, he was often found in the fields sitting in samadhi, meditation, completely unfazed by the burning sun or strong rains. His classmates would often make fun of him since he never seemed to enjoy the kind of things they did. His friends have many times narrated this incident in front of Guruji as to how he would often fill ink in pens that had run out. I have personally seen Guruji do this one time in Jalandhar. Guruji had a diary in which he wrote down the addresses of a few people who visited him. That day, I happened to be the one sitting next to his asan, and each time he wanted to write somebody's address, he would ask me to pass the diary to him. The pen in the diary wasn't working. Since morning, I was borrowing pens from the Sangat for him to write down the addresses. In the evening, Guruji wanted to write down someone's address, and before I could ask someone for a pen, he looked at me, blew into the pen, and started writing. I wanted to make sure if the pen was actually working, so I raised myself on my knees to look. And yes, the pen was working. He again gave me a smile and continued writing. One of Guruji's classmates often narrated an incident where he went to pick up Guruji for college on his scooter. On reaching Guruji's house, Guruji told him that he had some work and would meet him in college. Guruji never possessed a scooter, yet Guruji was standing and waiting for his friend at the college premises. Just to test him, Guruji's friend rode back to Guruji's house to find Guruji present at his house as well. There have been various incidents where Guruji has been seen present in more than one place at the same time. Guruji went to school at the Dugri Primary School and Government High School. He did his college from the Government College at Malerkotla. Guruji was double MA in English and Economics. He spoke fluent English and had a beautiful handwriting. Yet, just to put a veil on all of us, he would often ask us to spell certain words for him. In another incident, Guruji's friends wanted to teach him how to swim. Since he never liked getting wet, he would often resist. One day, they all got together and decided to throw Guruji into the village well. One of his friends went down the well and the other remained on top to push Guruji into the well. When Guruji was pushed into the well, his friends were shocked to see that he didn't hit the water but was in fact floating over it. His friends got scared, and before they knew it, Guruji was out of the well besides them, with his clothes completely dry. No one till today understood how Guruji came out or why he didn't hit the water. Guruji disliked getting dirty or having his clothes soiled. He was not keen on doing the typical chores in the agriculture fields. One day, Guruji's father insisted he work with them in the rice fields. Just as his father was about to push him into the fields, two men came on a scooter and said Guruji was wanted somewhere and took Guruji away with them. Mataji would often send Guruji to get wheat or maize ground from the village grinding mill. He would take the wheat and maize from home, and after having it ground, he would distribute it among the poor and needy. One day, Guruji brought a truckload of people home at night and, much to the annoyance of his mother, asked her to prepare food for them all. After feeding them, he distributed woven mats made by his mother among them and asked them to all rest until he finally let them go early morning. On being asked why he did such a thing, he told his family that had he not stopped them and brought them home, they would have had an accident and died. He had no inhibitions about going into the graveyard at night and would often be found meditating there for hours. Much to the dislike of his family, he often kept the company of sages. Guruji left his village and home in 1975, as reported by his classmates, and after college, he briefly worked for the Punjab School Education Board in its field office at Sangrur as a clerical assistant in 1983. Guruji told us that by the age of 8, he had full control over all his desires and has devoted all his time to meditation. Chapter 4, Curing My Mother. When we met Guruji, my mother wasn't keeping very well. She was putting on weight without any reason, and her complexion was turning dark. We went to every skin doctor, beautician, and pundits, but no one could tell us what was wrong with her. My elder sister used to get the feeling that our mother would not be with us for long. On the second day of our meeting Guruji, he called my mother to the asan and said, "Get your car to the door. I have to go make a phone call." My mother brought the car to the gate and Guruji sat down in front with my sister at the back. They went to the army cantonment. "No, not this road. I think we should take the other one," said Guruji each time they would take a turn. My mother didn't understand what was happening, but she carried on with Guruji's instructions. Finally, he said, "Stop the next car that turns round that corner. It will be a black Fiat." As soon as he said that, a black Fiat turned the corner and Mom stopped it. It belonged to one of Guruji's disciples. When they saw Guruji, they stopped and got down to touch Guruji's feet. They then took Guruji, Mom, and my sister to their home. He made the required phone call and finally told Mom to drop him back at the temple. It was almost 2 a.m. when Guruji came back to the temple. My grandfather and I, besides the caretakers, were the only ones in the temple. I was unhappy about the fact that Guruji took my sister out for an outing and I was not even asked. Sitting there sulking and waiting, I almost went off to sleep when I finally heard them all come back. As soon as Guruji entered, he said, "Aj kalyan karta tera," meaning that today I have done something major for your welfare. I wondered why he's telling me about my welfare when I wasn't even asked to accompany him. I was sulking big time. That night, as my mother drove down home to Ludhiana, she felt unwell. She saw the speedometer at 90, yet she felt she wasn't driving. She never saw any towns or any other vehicle on the road. When she reached home, she never told anyone about what she felt and put it down to tiredness. Next day, as we entered the temple, Guruji was waiting for us. "सुखी आंटी, कल गड्डी 90 ते चल रही सी." "Sukhi auntie, You were driving at 90 yesterday? My mother immediately understood that she wasn't driving, but it was Guruji who was himself controlling everything. कल मैं तेरा सारा टोना अपने उत्ते ले लिया। टोना इन्ना स्ट्रॉन्ग सी कि सिर्फ एक महापुरुष ही कर सकदे सी। तू 45 ਦੀ ਉਮਰ ਕ੍ਰੋਸ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਨੀ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਤੇਰੀ ਡੈਥ ਇਹੀ ਜਿਹੀ ਹੋਣੀ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਕੋਈ ਦੇਖ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਕਣਾ ਸੀ। ਤੇਰੇ ਬਾਅਦ ਇਹ ਟੋਨਾ ਸੁਖਮਨੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੇ ਉਸਦੇ ਬਾਅਦ ਉਸਦੇ ਅੱਗੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾਣਾ ਸੀ। Yesterday, I took all the black magic done on you onto myself. Your black magic could only be taken off by a true Mahapurush. You would not have crossed the age of 45 and would have died a death that your family could not see. After you, this effect would have gone into your younger daughter Sukhmani, and after her death, it would have further gone into her daughter. This is when I understood why Guruji came into the temple and said to me, Kalyan ho gaya tera. On hearing this, my sister and I started crying. I asked, Guruji, this time you have removed it. What if someone does it again? ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੀ ਸ਼ਰਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਲੈ ਲਿਆ ਹੈ। ਹੁਣ ਕੋਈ ਕੁਝ ਕਰੇਗਾ ਤਾਂ ਉਸਨੂੰ ਮੇਰਾ ਸਾਹਮਣਾ ਕਰਨਾ ਪਏਗਾ। ਡਰਨ ਦੀ ਕੋਈ ਲੋੜ ਨਹੀਂ। I have taken you all under my wing. If anyone tries it again, he will have to deal with me. You have nothing to fear. From that day onwards, my mother started to shed the extra weight and her complexion started to become clear. Many times since, we have tried to ask Guruji to give us the name of the person who did the black magic, and Guruji would always say to us that he didn't want us to live with anger and hatred towards anyone. I was so hurt on knowing that someone in my own family had wanted to hurt us so badly. I asked, Guruji, how can someone ruin another person's life like this? Won't you punish him? Is there a punishment for such cruelty? Yes, he said. People who indulge in black magic will have to face severe punishment in hell because they are harming people and interfering with God's plan. He also said 99% of people today indulge in black magic and visit tantrics to find shortcuts through their problems. They don't know what seeds they are sowing. That day it finally struck me that he actually was the Guru who changed destinies. He had certainly changed ours. Tenu new life ditti Sukhi auntie, ash kar. I have given you a new life, Sukhi auntie. Enjoy, said Guruji, and we all fell at his feet and thanked him from the core of our hearts. Today, envy and jealousy reign supreme. People are not happy to see others happy or prosper, thus, they resort to black magic to harm others. All those who think they can alter the conditions of their existing lives for the better by the use of black magic or tantric knowledge, or think they can hurt people who have hurt them by using such powers, don't know that they may be able to achieve their desired goal for a while, but what they don't know is that they will end up paying for it very heavily. The only way to protect yourself and your family from the evil influences of black magic is to come under the protection of a true Mahapurush and prayers. Prayers done with a true intent and a pure heart have the power to alter or cure anything. The real magic is meditation on God. Devote yourselves to prayer, seek the blessings of a true Guru, and sit in his Sangat if you wish to evade evil influences. Only a true Guru has the power and authority over evil. Chapter 5 Guruji gets my sister married. My mother had been praying for years to God to come down and help her get her daughter married. She always wanted a son in law who didn't drink and was of a religious bent of mind, just like her. On meeting my mother for the first time, Guruji told her everything about the ardas that she used to do to Guru Nanak Ji regarding the marriage of her daughter. Get your elder daughter married, Guruji told my mother one day. At first, my mother just said yes and kept quiet. After a few days, he again forcefully told her, Sukhi auntie, ਤੂੰ ਰੋਜ਼ ਸਵੇਰੇ ਉੱਠ ਕਰ ਰੱਬ ਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੀ ਸੀ ਮੇਰੀ ਬੇਟੀ ਦਾ ਵਿਆਹ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਥੱਲੇ ਉਤਰੋ ਹੁਣ ਮੈਂ ਆਇਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਹਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਤੂੰ ਸੁਣਦੀ ਨਹੀਂ Sukhi auntie, you always prayed to God to come down and get your daughter married. Now I'm here to help you and you're not listening. My mother said, Guruji, but I don't know where to find a suitable match for her. That is not your problem, he said. The boy and his family will be coming tonight to the temple. My sister's marriage was fixed with the same boy we saw that day. He told my mother that Atlee, my brother-in-law, was her son in her previous birth and that he will be the best choice for her son-in-law. We never questioned Guruji's decision and my sister's wedding date was fixed. Her Roka ceremony took place at the Jalandhar Mandir and all day he played wedding songs and made the Sangha dance. That day he fixed the wedding date and he even told my mother that he had blessed her with a grandson. Guruji distributed the wedding cards himself and attended all functions. His car would be decorated with flowers and would enter first, with the groom's car and the rest of the Sangat following. All rituals were done in his presence and he even stood in the Milni ceremony. My mother had asked for a dress to be made for Guruji and a day before we were to go pick it up from the boutique, she took out the required money from the cupboard. She realized that a bundle of 50 rupee notes was all that was there in the cupboard that day. As she was about to put it in her bag, she saw that they were the most rotten and torn notes she had ever seen. She was a bit disappointed because having the notes changed from the bank the next morning meant delay in meeting Guruji. The next day we told someone to rush to the bank to get the notes changed. Just as my sister handed him the notes, he asked in confusion, "Why do you want these notes changed?" My sister told him about the rotten condition of the notes. He flipped through the notes and said, "But these are brand new notes." "That can't be true," said my sister, and went to examine the notes herself. To her amazement, the notes were brand new. My mother felt there may have been a mistake, as probably there was more than one bundle of notes in the cupboard. We checked the cupboard from top to bottom but could not find any more money. Still confused but in a lot of hurry, we left for Jalandhar to collect Guruji's dress before going to meet Guruji. Guruji's dress and matching shoes were ready, but the dress needed to be dry cleaned before we could present it to Guruji. We decided to give the dress to Guruji on another visit and went to his temple for his darshans. As we entered, he said, "Sukhi auntie, what have you got for me?" Not wanting to give him the dress in a bad condition, we said, "Guruji, we haven't got anything." "No, you have had a dress made for me and matching shoes. Bring them to me, I want to see them." We had no choice but to give him the dress as it was, and Guruji very humbly and lovingly accepted it. "For this dress, I had to come last night to your house and change the bundle of money," said Guruji. "Guruji, so you changed the money?" asked my sister in surprise. "Yes, I had to, or you would have been late." During the preparations of my sister's wedding, Guruji would often help us with our shopping. He even told me beforehand as to what I had planned to wear and on what function. My mother wanted to buy a colored kundan tikka, a piece of jewelry worn on the forehead, matching to the set my sister was to wear on her wedding. We searched for it all over, but none of the jewelers had a tikka in colored kundan, as white kundan was now more in vogue. "Sukhi auntie, is your shopping complete?" he asked my mother one day as we visited him. Guruji, I can't find a colored kundan tikka anywhere. I have been to all the old jewelers, but none of them have it. What should I do? Mom was very worried as we didn't have enough time to have one made specially to match her set. Go tomorrow to Patiala and you will find one, said Guruji. My mother was not too hopeful since she had already visited all the jewelers there just a day before. The next day, my mother went again to Patiala, and one of the old family jewelers came up to her and said, "We have found a few boxes of tikkas. Let's open and see if there are any colored ones in there." In the first box he opened, we found a colored kundan tikka matching exactly to my sister's set. Everyone in the shop was shocked to notice the similarity between the tikka and the set, as if they were made together by the same craftsman. A week before the wedding, my mother got a call from a well known businesswoman in Chandigarh requesting to be invited to the wedding so that she too could meet Guruji. Mom obviously invited her to come seek his blessings. Just as she kept the phone down, Guruji came up behind her in the Jalandhar Mandir and asked her who she was talking to. Mom told Guruji about her and he said, "Aa nahi sakogi. She won't be able to come." Sure enough, we got the news that she expired a day before the wedding. 3rd February was the date of the wedding, and a week before, the weather took a turn for the worse. The rain seemed as if it would never stop, and we had the arrangements in the open at Mount View, Chandigarh. It was too late to now go looking for a covered area to accommodate everyone. My mother panicked and rushed to meet Guruji. "Guruji, how will I accommodate so many people if the weather remains so bad?" "Don't worry," said Guruji. "It will be a warm and sunny day on the 3rd." Sure enough, the rain finally stopped on the 2nd, and on the 3rd it was indeed a beautifully warm and sunny day. On the 3rd, the boys' side was to meet up with Guruji and his Sangat at a particular point before coming together for the wedding. One lady in the Sangat lost her necklace during this trip and was very upset. She didn't want to tell her husband for fear of getting a shout, so she decided to keep quiet till after the wedding. All through the wedding she was upset, but she didn't tell anyone. After the wedding, Guruji ordered his Sangat, who came with him from Jalandhar, to follow him back to the temple. When this lady reached the temple, she quietly sat down in one corner, feeling miserable over the loss of her necklace. Guruji walked up to her and threw her necklace in her lap. "Here, auntie, is this why you have been sulking all through the wedding?" Guruji had ordered us to give him a copy of the wedding video, and so we presented him 2 video cassettes of all the wedding functions. In 1996, Guruji had closed all Sangat, and very few were allowed or even aware of where he was. Guruji had gone to his village and out of our family. Only my grandfather was allowed to meet him. After 4 months, when he finally allowed Sangat to meet him, a function was kept at Malerkotla and we all went to meet Guruji. I noticed that a lot of the village people came up to me as if they knew me very well. "Tu Sukhmani hai na? You're Sukhmani, right?" I would have no clue as to where I had met them or how they knew me. Old women used to come and hug me and call me by my name, and this really confused me. Finally, I asked one of Guruji's nieces as to how everyone knows me by name. "Oh, that's because every evening we all gathered around Guruji and he used to play the video from your sister's wedding, and whenever you came in the frame, he would mention your name saying, 'Sukhmani sadi beti hai, changi kudi hai. She's my daughter and a good girl. That's why we know your name. In fact, now we all know your family very well. Just as Guruji's car drove into the venue, we all stood in a line to greet Guruji. I was eagerly looking forward to seeing him after such a long time. As he got down, we all showered him with flowers, and Guruji walked up to my mother and said, Sukhi, ਇਹ 4 महीने में तेरे लिए बहुत पाठ किया है. Sukhi, these 4 months I have done a lot of prayers for you. As told by Guruji much in advance, my sister was soon blessed with a beautiful, healthy baby boy. During the first few months of my sister's pregnancy, her test results were not coming normal. One day he asked, Where are you showing her? Who is the doctor? When we named the doctor, he immediately said, Don't go there, there will be a death at her clinic. Guruji instructed us to change the doctor and gave us the address of another lady doctor. As soon as we started going to the new doctor, all my sister's test results came to normal. Guruji would often call her to the temple and bless her. He even said that her pains will start in the temple itself. Sure enough, on the 6th of February at about 9 p.m., my sister was having langar at the temple when her pains started. Guruji called her to the asan and narrated a beautiful poem in archaic English. All she remembers is that it had something to do with life and death. He blessed her and we got her admitted to the clinic. My sister was in a bad shape. The mouth of the uterus would not open, so the doctor finally took a call to wait another few hours before doing a cesarean. Since Guruji had told us it would be a normal delivery, my mother and I rushed to him to seek his guidance. He told us that it will be a normal delivery and that there was nothing to worry. Just as we got back to the clinic, we saw the doctor taking my sister to the operation theatre. She told us that it's very strange, but the uterus had opened and she is hopeful for a normal delivery. On the 8th of February, my nephew was born. Guruji kept his name Rajdeep and told my mother, Sukhi auntie, मैं by choice soul लिया के दित्ती है, इसदी कुंडली बना के देख, हैरान हो जाएंगी मैं की दिता है. Sukhi auntie, I have given you a soul by choice. You can make his birth chart if you wish and you will be surprised to know what I have given you. One day soon after the delivery, Guruji called me into his room and asked me, Sukhmani, go ask that lady doctor if she felt anything in the operation theatre. She will tell you that she feels a presence in the theatre each time she does a case. He said, Ask her if she joins her hands in prayers and prays to God before doing deliveries, and tell her I have been watching over her for the past many years. Doctors being doctors, I wasn't very hopeful on getting a reaction from her. As soon as I asked her about feeling a presence in the operation theatre, I could see tears in her eyes. She told me that she always prayed to God to help her and has each time found 2 extra set of hands working with her on a case. She was shocked to know that I already knew all this because not even her family was aware of this fact. My job here was done. The lady doctor became a follower of Guruji soon after. Not only her, the entire staff became Guruji's followers and would be seen sitting at his temple in their off duty days. I must mention here that in the previous nursing home where we were forbidden from taking my sister, there was a delivery case on the same date as my sister's. The baby died and the mother was so critical that she had to be rushed to PGI hospital. This is when I understood why the nursing home had been changed and why Guruji had said there will be a death there. Rajdeep as a baby didn't drink milk and this was getting very frustrating for my sister and she decided to ask Guruji about it. She took him along to Guruji's mandir in Chandigarh and put him down at his feet. Guruji, he doesn't drink milk. What should I do? Guruji ordered a glass of milk for himself, and as I brought it to him, he had a few sips and told me to give the rest to Rajdeep. इसदे मुंह ਨੂੰ ਲਾ ਦੇ ਆਪੇ ਹੀ ਪੀ ਜਾਊਗਾ. Put the glass to his mouth and he will drink it. My sister did that, and Rajdeep quickly gulped it all down. Ever since, he has never said no to milk. 4 years later, Guruji again blessed my sister with a beautiful daughter. Each time the parents would go to Guruji to ask him for a name, he would say, I'll keep it after thinking about it. This went on for about 2 months, and one fine day, Guruji called up my sister late at night and said, You are to name your daughter Pearl. Don't call her anything but Pearl. Even diamonds have imperfections, but a pearl is pure. I thank Guruji for giving us these children, as they have brought a tremendous amount of happiness into all our lives. जय गुरुजी. आज की रीडिंग बस यहीं तक. कल फिर अगले चैप्टर से शुरू करेंगे. उम्मीद करती हूँ आप सबको बहुत अच्छा लगा. सुखमनी आंटी का भी फिर से शुक्राना अपनी इतने ब्यूटीफुल एक्सपीरियंसेस को हमारे साथ शेयर करने के लिए. जय गुरुजी.